You're a Roman guard standing outside a sealed stone chamber in Alexandria. The air is thick with the scent of the Nile's humidity and the faint, acrid burn of incense from nearby temples. Inside that room is Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, pharaoh, descendant of the Ptolemies, the most powerful woman in the ancient world. She has been locked inside for 7 days now. You hear her sometimes. Not crying, not screaming, just movement, soft footsteps on stone, the faint rustle of fabric, occasionally her voice speaking as if someone else is there, though you know for certain she is alone. The shifts drag on, your spear heavy in your hand, the sun baking your armor. You've been told to watch, to listen, to report anything unusual. But nothing prepares you for the weight of guarding a legend-turned prisoner. Before we delve deeper into those echoing sounds, there's something crucial you must understand about Cleopatra's death. Everything you think you know about it is wrong. The romantic tale of the asp hidden in a basket of figs is likely fiction, a poetic embellishment spun by poets and historians to soften the edges of a brutal reality. The image of Cleopatra dying peacefully in her royal bed, surrounded by loyal handmaidens, is almost certainly fabricated. What actually happened inside those sealed chambers between August 1st and August 12th 30 BC, was something far more deliberate, far more calculated, and far more revealing about how Rome destroyed its enemies. This is not a story about suicide. It is a story about a systematic psychological operation designed to break the last pharaoh of Egypt before allowing her to die. The real question isn't how Cleopatra died. It's why Octavian needed her to die in a very specific way and why he needed 10 days to make it happen. The destruction began on August 1st 30 BC. Inside the tomb Cleopatra had built for herself, near the temple of Isis, Mark Antony was dying. He had fallen on his own sword after being falsely told that Cleopatra was already dead. But she wasn't. She had barricaded herself inside her tomb with her two most loyal handmaidens, Iris and Charmian, and as much treasure as she could gather: gold, jewels, scrolls of ancient wisdom. The tomb was a solid stone structure, 2 stories high, with massive wooden doors reinforced like a fortress. Cleopatra knew that in death, she would need the same protections she demanded in life. Antony was bleeding out at the base of the tomb, his men pleading for her to open the doors. She refused, her voice steady through the cracks. She couldn't risk it, with Octavian's soldiers minutes away. According to Plutarch, whose accounts draw from eyewitnesses, Cleopatra and her attendants lowered ropes from the upper level and hauled Antony upward through a high window, dragging his weakening body inside while he clung to life. His blood streaked down the stone walls like dark rivers, pooling at the base as they pulled with all their strength. Imagine the scene. The Queen of Egypt, adorned in her royal linens, muscles straining, sweat mixing with tears, pulling her dying lover into what might become their shared grave. Antony died in her arms on that upper level, his final words a defiant whisper: "Do not pity me in this last turn of fate. I was the greatest of Romans, defeated only by another Roman." He passed believing his life had held grandeur, a Roman's honor intact even in defeat. Cleopatra had mere minutes to grieve, to wipe the blood from her hands, before Octavian's forces arrived. But Octavian did not storm the tomb. He did not shatter the doors with battering rams or scale the walls in a frenzy. Instead, he sent a messenger, Proculus, a man of calculated words. The message was deceptively simple. Caesar wished to discuss terms of surrender and the future of her children. Cleopatra refused to open the doors, speaking through a narrow gap in the stone, demanding guarantees for her children's safety. While she negotiated, Proculus's men quietly climbed the outer walls, entering through the same high opening used for Antony. They caught her off guard. Cleopatra reached for a dagger hidden in her robes, intent on ending it all. But the soldiers were prepared, trained for this exact moment. They tackled her, disarmed her, bound her wrists. According to Cassius Dio, she screamed in fury, "You will not take me alive to Rome. You will not parade me. Kill me now." But their orders were ironclad. Keep her alive, use whatever force necessary, do not let her die. They carried her from the tomb, her struggles echoing through the corridors, and transported her to the palace, sealing her inside a guarded chamber on the 2nd floor. That moment marked the true beginning of her unraveling. Octavian didn't simply want Cleopatra dead. He needed something precise from her death, and that required time. Egypt, the wealthiest kingdom in the ancient world, with its endless grain fields and gold mines, was now his prize. But back in Rome, Octavian faced a dilemma. He had just concluded a civil war, Romans slaughtering Romans in fields stained with citizen blood. To justify it, he needed to reframe the conflict, not as internal strife, but as a righteous war against a foreign enemy, a seductive queen from the east who had corrupted Mark Antony and threatened Rome's very soul. Yet Cleopatra wasn't some barbaric savage. She was educated, speaking 9 languages, politically astute. She had lived in Rome, dined with senators, debated with Cicero. Romans knew her as a complex figure, not a caricature. That complexity undermined propaganda. Octavian needed to simplify her. The Eastern temptress, the Egyptian witch, the foreign poison that must be purged for Rome's survival. Above all, he needed to parade her through Rome's streets in his triumph, alive. Cleopatra knew precisely what that entailed, and she would rather die than submit. Octavian had 10 days to ensure she didn't. His political future hinged on that spectacle. The Roman people witnessing the dangerous queen defeated, humiliated, broken. Roman triumphs were ritualized theater. Defeated rulers led in chains, jeered by crowds, then executed in the Tullianum prison. This was victory through degradation. Octavian's legitimacy as Caesar's heir depended on displaying Cleopatra as proof of his conquest over the East. But Cleopatra understood the ritual intimately. She had been in Rome in 44 BC during Julius Caesar's Gallic triumph, watching Vercingetorix, the Gallic king, dragged in chains and strangled. She knew Octavian's plan for her. 2 wills clashed. Hers for death with dignity, his for her living humiliation. Octavian's approach was meticulous. The chamber was selected with care, a second-floor room with 1 door, 1 narrow window impossible to escape through. Guards like you stood vigil, day and night. Everything dangerous was stripped away. No knives, no ropes, no sharp edges. Plutarch notes they searched her clothing and hair daily for hidden poisons or weapons. She was left in basic garb, alone in barren stone. Yet Octavian's strategy transcended mere confinement. He aimed not just to prevent death, but to erode her desire for it. Cleopatra craved death for control, to deny Octavian his parade. So he inverted that. Make her yearn for life. He wielded her children as the weapon. Cleopatra had 4. Caesarion, her 17-year-old son with Julius Caesar, the 10-year-old twins, Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene, and young Ptolemy Philadelphus, just 6, all fathered by Antony. Octavian's men separated them immediately, scattering them across the palace under guard. On August 2, he sent Gaius Cornelius Gallus, a poet-soldier diplomat. The message was cruelly elegant. Caesar assures you your children are well cared for. Their future depends on your cooperation. Should anything happen to you, their safety cannot be guaranteed, especially Caesarion's. The implication struck like a blade. Caesarion, Julius Caesar's blood son, threatened Octavian's adopted claim. If Cleopatra died, he'd be eliminated. But if she lived, cooperated, submitted to the parade, perhaps they all survived. The trap was set. Dignity demanded death, motherhood demanded life. For 10 days, she lingered in that agonizing void. The pressure mounted on August 3. Architects arrived with tools, measuring rods, ropes, tablets. They gauged her height, weight, proportions. Preparing for Caesar's triumph, one said flatly. The display must accommodate you properly. They treated her like an exhibit, discussing chains, poses, visual impact. They returned daily, August 4th, 5th, 6th, debating attire, jewelry, restraints in her presence. This wasn't logistics, it was psychological warfare, conditioning her to the inevitability of humiliation. To counterbalance, Octavian fed her reports. Caesarion asks after you. He's worried. Pull toward death with triumph's horror, yank back with children's pleas. Alone, she heard faint voices, her handmaidens in nearby rooms, children's laughter through walls. Was it real or staged? Cassius Dio records her pleas to see them, denied, not until cooperation is assured. This bred learned helplessness, stripping agency, fostering dependence. By August 7th, she refused food, staring at walls in silence. Guards reported. Octavian responded by allowing a brief visit from Caesarion. Guards hovered as he begged. Please eat, mother. I need you. She ate that night, the threat visceral now. On August 8, Octavian visited personally. Fragments from Plutarch, Cassius Dio, Strabo survive. Participate in the triumph willingly, without chains. Retain dignity. In exchange, your children live, raised in Rome. Refuse, and no promises, Caesarion dies. She requested 3 days, he granted them. Then, on August 11, truth dawned, perhaps overheard guards, a smuggled message. Caesarion would die regardless, promises were facade. She requested to visit Antony's tomb, granted under guard. She made offerings, palming a hidden poison vial stashed earlier. Returned, she requested figs. Guards inspected. Nothing amiss. The asp tale is myth, dramatic but improbable. Poison fits better. Subtle, reliable. August 12 dawned quiet. Guards entered. Cleopatra lay dead on a golden couch, in royal regalia. Iris dead at her feet. Charmian, dying, adjusted her diadem. Was this well done? A guard asked. Extremely well. Fitting for a descendant of so many kings, she replied, collapsing. At 39, Cleopatra's death was defiance, reclaiming control. Octavian paraded an effigy instead, a statue with snake, cementing the legend. Caesarion was assassinated weeks later en route to India. The younger children survived, paraded in her stead, raised in Rome but neutered politically. Those 10 days expose power's machinery, not mere killing, but psychological dismantling. Octavian weaponized her love, built impossible choices, offered false hope. When she denied him, he controlled the narrative anyway. Standing guard, you witnessed the end of an era, not in battle, but in a sealed room's silence. Cleopatra chose how to lose, claiming dignity in defeat. Whether it mattered echoes through time.